Remember the first week of college, the first week of high school, the first week of anything when you were in an uncomfortable situation and you tended to take the path of least resistance? Where you tended to find yourself surrounded by people who gravitated towards others that looked like them, who had similar interests, who had similar backgrounds. You know, that's just human nature, because I was one of them. I grew up with my entire life structured ahead of me. My parents told me to play piano 2 hours a day, take the SATs 3 times before go to college. They pretty much told me not to go out, have fun, have play dates. And in that lifestyle, I became lazy. I ended up feeling like, all right, everything's been structured out for me, planned out for me, I don't have to do anything. I'm so used to taking the path of least resistance. And I thought it was pretty easy. But in that process, some people around in my life started to call me out on things that made me different. The color of my skin. They called me chink. They started to stereotype me. They put me to expectations that I could not live up to. And they felt they could get away with it because I wouldn't fight back. I was so used to just keeping my head low, causing no trouble, and being told by my parents what to do and how to think. And that carried on from high school to college. But in that, I started feeling a little frustrated. I felt that I wasn't right. Something was wrong. I needed to do something about it, but I didn't know how. And in looking to other people around me, I discovered there was an Asian American community, a viable political force of other Asian Americans who experienced the same things I did. And in that, I learned about a person named Vincent Chin, someone that I identified a lot with, another Chinese American, but in 1982 in Detroit, where he was at a bar, he was about to get married the next week, and these 2 white men accosted him, saying, "You Japs are stealing all our jobs." And they said that because they thought they could get away with it. Vincent Chin wasn't happy with that. They had a little minor argument, and these 2 men came back with baseball bats and beat him to death. And they never served a single day in jail. The judge at the time said, "You don't make the punishment fit the crime, you make the punishment fit the criminals." And because these 2 people never served a day in jail and prior to this crime, never committed a crime in the past, and there was no organized resistance, and at the time there was no Asian American community to stand up against this injustice, they got away with it. Because we come from a community at a time where Asian Americans were not used to taking the path of more resistance. We hung our heads low. We were told by other people to stick together, not interact with the people that are not like us, and to cause no trouble. But then, because of this injustice, because of this outright injustice, Asian Americans finally rallied together, and because of Vincent Chin, we have the birth of the Pan-Asian American movement. And now it is a viable political force. But that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the efforts of people within our community that took the path of more resistance. We reached out to the African American movement, the civil rights movement created by African Americans in the 1960s, and said, "You and I, our community groups have experienced similar injustices with the criminal justice system, similar acts of racism. Where can we work together?" And it took some of us to finally work together where traditionally we never did. We were told by our parents and other community members not to reach out, and some of us, very few of us, leaders, decided to reach out and to create some sense of empathy. And you see this little Asian girl holding up a sign that says, "Power to the people, black power to black people." There was a time in history where we worked together. And that continued on, where I realized every single act of social progress and social change has been achieved through community groups working together where they traditionally never did. Because the status quo maintains their power and their privilege only by keeping us divided. And divided, we fall. This is a picture of a recent time in Egypt where Egyptian Christians are holding hands in a ring, protecting Egyptian Muslims as they're praying to Mecca so that the police wouldn't affect them. They're protecting each other. And these are 2 groups that have traditionally, throughout history, for years and years and years, have been killing each other, have been at odds, who've never worked together, suspicious of each other. And within 4 years, they were able to work together and topple 2 dictators because there were some people in that community group who says, "You know what, enough is enough. Let's take the path of more resistance. Let's work with people that we traditionally never worked with before." It took a lot of courage. But in that experiences of prejudice that we share together, we also have experiences of privilege. Now, we have to be responsible as social activists. If you want to work with other groups, we can't just go in with courage, because that's just lazy. That's actually taking the path of least resistance. We need to confront our own privilege. What makes us unique and different that has been misled and misused as forms of oppression? Now, for example, as an Asian American, I was reminded every day when I was growing up that I was different, that I was a Chinese American, that I was called a chink, that I had to be good at math and science. If I didn't, they would use words like retarded. And that pressure made it very apparent that I was different because of my race, and therefore I would see that as a form of prejudice. However, at the same time, the same person, I am a tall, heterosexual, cisgendered man. And those are not things I think about every day. Those are not things I wake up and it's like, oh, I'm a man, and I'm tall. Thank goodness. All right? These are things I take for granted. Privilege is something that you have that you don't think is a problem because it's not a problem personally to you. And all of us here have certain aspects of privilege. Some of us are born in the front row who have an easier time hitting the wastebasket than people in the back row. Now, what kind of person do you want to be if you're born in the first row? Do you want to be a good person when you get up and you realize, oh, I'm in the front row, I didn't know that? Do you want to bring the classroom up ahead with you with that extra amount of privilege and responsibility? Or do you want to stay in the first row and keep to yourself? I hope that you want to be a good person here, because when you're at the crossroads in life and straddling the different aspects of your prejudice and your privilege, what kind of person do you want to be with those two experiences? And that's where we have intersectionality, the crossroads of different aspects of your identity. And this is the long version of intersectionality, created by Professor Kimberly Crenshaw in 1989. There's a lot of words on this slide, so I'll make it easier for you. You can just draw it. This is intersectionality. Every single aspect of these identifying characteristics is something that you have experience with in terms of prejudice and privilege. So in order to bridge gaps with other community groups, other people that you've never worked with before, I ask that you actually start by bridging gaps within yourself before you can bridge gaps within other people. And that's right. The reason why that's important is because speaking to a college community here, all of us here are surrounded by the next project, the next assignment, the homework assignment that you have to do. And then when you're done with that, when you have free time, you're on social media, constantly trying to find external validation through other people's Facebook posts and status updates. We never really have time to think to ourselves and have a conversation, a very honest conversation of everything that we experience. Whether it is traveling the world, whether it's with me or by yourself, or lucid dreaming, or having conversations with other people, I ask that you have a space where you become honest. And that is by first asking yourself, this is pretty easy, where have you ever have experienced prejudice? Whether it is you as a person of color, or you as a woman, or you with a disability, or you who don't even have a good command of the English language. I grew up with a stutter. Now, that's hard to believe, but I did. Me, as for myself, my ethnicity, being reminded that I was an Asian American. Then the hard part, confronting your privilege, realizing that you have aspects of your identity that you have a privilege in, something that people have used in the past and throughout human history to oppress other people, whether it is you because of the skin color, your gender, your age. The fact that people, all of us in this room, have been educated in a great university in a first world country is already a privilege that all of you have. And that's okay. Don't feel guilty about it. You were born in the first row and you have all the privileges in the world. Good. That's great for you, buddy. I'm not asking you to change that. But the thing is that what kind of responsibility do you have with that privilege? Do you want to get up on the first row and look behind you and bring the people up with you or the rest of your classroom? Or do you want to stick to yourself? And I hope that when you become a good person, you actually don't stick to yourself and engage. But when you engage other people, we tend to take the path of least resistance by engaging people that look like us, that have the same experiences as we have. I actually do that by taking the path of more resistance. Communities that you have traditionally stereotyped, communities that have intimidated you, communities that people have told you not to engage in or have discouraged you from engaging in. Because the reason why we need to do this is there are threefold. Number one, it's great to talk about yourself in front of other people. It's wonderful. But the second thing is, a person is only a person through other people. This is a concept from South Africa. It's a South African philosophy, Ubuntu, that you only get to know yourself better by using other people as mirrors to reflect what they see in front of you. And the only way to do that, the best way, is to do it with somebody that doesn't know you, that has different experiences from you, can engage with you in different personality aspects and experiences, and to create that space of empathy, because that is what empathy is. And when you're doing that, you already are bridging gaps with other people. You already are on the path. And when you do that, I have to remind you there are three core concepts of bridging gaps with other communities where you might be discouraged and be set off on the wrong path. And that is, no relationship is perfect. I need you to remember that no relationship is perfect. Because if you go in thinking that, oh, I'm going to go in with courage and everyone's going to welcome me with open arms, and that doesn't happen, you're just going to be, like, I'm going to give up. You basically get discouraged, and when people blow you off, which they will, people will be suspicious, which they will, right? Instead of reacting towards that as a moment of failure and a sign to give up and that all your efforts were worthless, I instead beseech upon you and dare you to embrace it, to expect it, to realize that is actually what you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to experience. Because the only way we can grow is through setbacks, through failures. And I ask that you actually strive to fail. Because if you're not one step away from failure in all your interactions and all the things that you do, then you're not doing enough with your life. And isn't that what love is? Isn't that what love is? Love is about taking terrifying leaps across huge gaps to make a single human connection. And we apply that to our partners and our significant others. But I ask that you realize that the heart is not a box. The more that the heart knows love, the more it expands and grows, and it is capable of more kinds of love. And when you do that with other groups, other people, that you create that courage to create love and empathy with communities that you never worked with before. And I ask that you do that now. Life does not start tomorrow. Most of you in this room are college students, and a lot of you feel that the best 4 years of your life is right now. That is probably true. But I dare you to believe differently. I dare you to believe that after college is over, that your whole life is ahead of you, and the best 4 years of your life have yet to happen, because you're constantly growing and you're constantly learning even beyond college. Those of you who are a little older, who are past college in the middle of your life or later in your life, it's still never too late to start. Because the way you do one thing in life is the way you do everything in life. And if you don't start now, it's only going to get more tough tomorrow. And if you're feeling like your life is a little more insular and you want to grow and you want to go out there with courage and with facing your fears and with love and compassion, then do it now. Because college is one of the best places, and now is one of the best times to fail, get up again, fail, get up again, experiment, try new things, expand and connect and love. Because at the end of the day, if you want to create social change and social progress on a community like this campus or beyond college or your entire life where you're constantly growing and learning and loving, it's not about the fun of your experience. It's not about the wealth of your knowledge. It's about what you stand for. It's about how you communicate that content. And I dare you and I beseech upon you to communicate that content with empathy, with love, and by taking the path of more resistance. Thank you.